Gabriella, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolutely. I love our little meetings, Risa. They're so fun for me.
Well, today we're going to talk about living in Mexico City, and
It's my favorite
it is
topic.
one of those places that I've not been to, which I know, shame on me.
I know. Travesty.
But I know everything I've heard about Mexico City, I know is just, I lived in New York City for 30 years.
Right.
So, in terms of the culture and vibrancy and the energy of the city, I'm assuming that it has all of that and then more.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, how long have you lived in Mexico City? And you've actually now doing a relocation thing there now too, which is even
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
amazing.
I am. I've been in Mexico City since January of 2020. So, if you want to do the math, I've resided in Mexico City since January of 2020. I've been living because the world was shut down. I'd say for like a year and a half, where really getting to take advantage of everything that this incredibly amazing, overwhelming, huge city has to offer. So,
Well, okay, well, let's start at the beginning actually,
yeah.
because I think people don't realize that Mexico City is a little bit higher in elevation than most
Uh,
parts of Mexico. And I
yes.
think that there's just like, I don't know, I think people just assume that all of Mexico is hot.
Right. Okay. So that is actually a huge thing. If someone's considering moving to Mexico, that is Mexico City, huge thing to take into consideration is the altitude. People get here and they're like, I'm so out of breath. Like, I'm so out of shape. Because, you do walk here. I'm like, it's not you, it's the altitude. And they're like, altitude? What? Or, oh, right, I didn't think about that. And I struggled hard when I got here in January, and then I actually had to go back to the U.S. in February for a meeting. And I actually went to my doctor and got altitude meds, and they helped immensely. And I also, like, when I can feel kind of like I'm struggling, I have these. I take chlorophyll supplements, and they help a lot. Right now is allergy season, so Mexico's summer, which is, I mean, like today it's supposed to be 82. That's about the hottest I've ever seen it get. I think maybe I've seen 87. Maybe is like the hot Fahrenheit. I don't know. I don't know Celsius, so I'm sorry to any non-American.
Yeah, so you're talking about, yeah, 80 is about 20, no, 25,
Yeah.
about 25 degrees
Um,
Celsius.
Oh yeah, and I even switched my watch to tell me in Celsius. I mean in Fahrenheit, because Celsius is. I just can't. I tried. So like right now, for example, it's high allergy season. It's really dry right now. January, February, March, and into some April can be really dry. All the jacarandas are blooming. Everything's blooming. Everybody's sneezing. Everybody's coughing. And actually, this year, people are like, "Oh, I just don't feel well. My allergies are really bad." There was actually even an article. I'm really not selling Mexico City, but it's the reality of things. I mean, Austin, Texas has this problem too. Cedar fever is a real thing. There was an article in the paper that was like, feel like your allergies are worse than usual. You're not imagining it. Pollen levels are double what they've ever been in the past. So I was like, oh, no wonder I'm taking my inhaler every day. But I'm a sickly person, like respiratory wise. I have always struggled with this. So it just depends. But back to the actual the actual question. Altitude is a real thing. It's 7,800 feet. So it's not, it's no joke. It's no joke at all. I mean, when you get here, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. People get here, they, they're like, woo, we're in Mexico. Let's go out for some chelas. We're going to have some cocktails. We're going to, walk around. We're going to take advantage of, how walkable the city is. We're going to go hang out in the park and be in the direct sun or, all of these things. And then by day 2, they're like, what's wrong with me? You're dehydrated. You're altitude sickness. You're dehydrated, that sort of thing. So it's just something to be aware of because I didn't think about it when I moved here at all.
Yeah, no, it's definitely one of those things that you have to be very mindful of because it is no
Yes.
joke. Because once you're
Yeah.
down, you're down.
Yeah, exactly. But the awesome thing about here, just like we have in the States, is that you can get an IV, like, hydration person to come to your house. And I got really bad food poisoning. Yeah. I got really bad food poisoning a couple weeks ago. Actually, irrelevant. We're not sure if it was a stomach virus going around or food poisoning, but I got really dehydrated. I had a horrible headache from being dehydrated. I got on my phone. I Googled, suero, which is the word for like IV, and like 8 different companies came up. I clicked the first one. They were at my house in an hour. I got vitamin B, I got vitamin C, I got electrolytes, potassium, magnesium. Came out to $59 on my credit card, and I was like gold within a couple hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. What an amazing service. I'd never even heard of that.
Yeah, they have them in the States too, but they're like 4 times as expensive. So,
Yeah. Well, I've never heard of anybody coming to your house.
yeah, my cousin did it when he had COVID in the U.S. and it cost him like $300.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
anyways, but yes.
So kind of like, all right, so you're in Mexico now,
Yep.
and you have to find a place to live.
Yes.
So can you describe to me kind of like the city? Are there neighborhoods that are more expat friendly? Like if you don't know, if you don't speak fluent Spanish, where are the more popular areas for foreigners?
So most of the foreigners, and we kind of call it like the expat bubble, reside in Roma Norte, La Condesa, or if you are on the wealthier side, Polanco. Polanco is a neighborhood that a lot of diplomats live in. A lot of people that are executives that come here for jobs. That's actually like the jobs actually own apartments in that neighborhood, or I think the embassies also own apartments, so they place a lot of their people there. If you're just a regular person, a lot of people. A regular person, earning person, not some high-level executive. Although you can live in Polanco and not be an executive. It just kind of depends on what you want. Polanco personally is a little sterile for my liking. It's beautiful, but it's, but I also live in a neighborhood where there's more locals and things like that, because I try to immerse myself as much as possible. And then La Condesa is, it's a gorgeous neighborhood. It's got 2 major parks. Both have dog parks. They've got, you can walk through there and it's just, the vibe is amazing. Parque Mexico, it's kind of like the lung of the Condesa neighborhood. And it's, there's vendors and people playing music, and there's salsa classes, and there's bachata classes, and on the weekends all the dog shelters come with their puppies, and they have all these puppies out for adoption, and some people accidentally adopt puppies on the weekends. They just can't. My acupuncturist one day texted me, "Oop, I accidentally did something today," and then she's got this puppy, and she's like, "I went to Parque Mexico and I just had to do it." She's like, I just couldn't turn away. So yeah, Parque Mexico is just a vibe, and then it's surrounded by restaurants and bars and things all around it. And that neighborhood, people define it as being kind of having like a European feel to it. You'll have like the first floor or the bottom floor. It will be, like a restaurant, and then upstairs are apartments. A lot of like Art Deco buildings, things like that. Moving into Roma Norte is more of like a hipster neighborhood, but it's still very expat. Foreigners love the area. You're talking like, I don't know, I'm throwing this out there, but I feel like there are more coffee shops per capita in the Roma Norte neighborhood than there are like in all of Mexico City combined. That's an exaggeration, but I swear, like anytime you look up like a cool coffee shop, it's in Roma Norte. And it's a great neighborhood too. Not as many parks, but definitely bars, restaurants, coffee shops. Cool neighborhood too. And that's where they tend to migrate. Why? I don't know. I don't know. But historically, maybe the past like 10, 15 years, or even before that, I'm not sure. This is where they all kind of migrate. And some other neighborhoods are starting to pop up as being more popular because they're more affordable, or people are like, oh, I came here to not be around my people, or I came here for a different experience. I don't want to be with the foreigners, my foreigners. And so they go to other neighborhoods outside that are a little further south. Like Escandon is a popular one. Del Valle is another one. Nápoles and El Navarte are some neighborhoods that people tend to migrate towards. And then there's Coyoacan. So Coyoacan, which is famous for being where Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera lived, it's south of the city. So it's still part of Mexico City, but back in the day, it was actually its own city. So it's cobblestone streets. It has a completely different vibe than the rest of the city does, really. And it's fabulous. I mean, it's beautiful. I would live there in a heartbeat, but it's not central. It's hard to get to. It's harder to get to. I mean, it is connected by the metro. It just kind of depends where you're going. But yeah, like if I'm wanting to go to Centro, for example, like the center of Mexico City, to go to the ballet at Bellas Artes, to get there from Coyoacan is going to be like a 250 peso Uber ride, or like an hour and a half on the metro probably. So, but a lot of people do live there, and you have everything you need there too. There's museums, there's restaurants, there's shops, there's all of that sort of stuff, lots of galleries, things like that. So it kind of depends on what kind of a lifestyle you're looking for. They've got their own parks, they've got everything. They've got a fabulous market, and so it just kind of depends.
Oh my God, it's sold.
Sold. I know. We're going to Coyoacan. I have a driver. He takes us everywhere. Even when my stepmom and a friend of hers came to visit, and I have a driver that I met through a Mexican friend of mine that has worked for her family, and I'll hire him to come when I have people that want to do relocation tours, or when my stepmom and her friend were here, I had to work one day. I couldn't go with them, so I just hired him. And he took them to Coyoacan, he took them down to Xochimilco, he was with them the entire day, so they didn't have to deal with not connecting, not being able to get to Wi-Fi, or not being able to get to an Uber, and et cetera, et cetera. And, it's just nice to know. And I mean, well, my stepmom's fluent in Spanish, and she's Greek, so she could play off being more local than her blonde-haired, non-Spanish speaking friend. But it's also nice to have him to take you places, because he knows if they're trying to schmooze you or overcharge you or things like that. He'll step in and be like, no, we're not playing. He's good like that.
That's great.
But yeah,
yeah. So in terms of, I've heard that traffic and congestion can be quite intense in Mexico City.
It's an understatement.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think all big cities, quite frankly, are the same. Is it the type of thing where, it's better to take the subway? Is it a bike riding kind of city?
A lot of people do ride bikes, and we actually even have EcoBC here. You get a membership, and there's stations all around the city, and you just get the bike, and you go wherever. There's a time limit to them. I don't know what the time limit is, but there is a time limit to them, so depending on how far you're going depends on. But yeah, you can get an EcoBC, ride around. A lot of people get around on bikes here. They're brave.
I know. I wouldn't ride a bike in Manhattan either. I mean, maybe
I have no
bike paths, but
I have no depth perception, so the thought of riding a bike anywhere other than the park with wide paths is terrifying to me. Although I really would like to. I really when I go to certain places, I'm trying really hard not to use Uber. It's like a goal that I've made to either walk or take public transport. And it's super, and I mean, this week I haven't taken Uber. I took Uber once because I was going to be late to something, and I don't know. But I took Uber once this entire week, and I'm very proud of myself for that. But I went down to Coyoacan. I went to the movies. I went to Cineteca Nacional, which is this amazing government-funded movie theater complex. They have outdoor theaters. They have classes, I think. The place is amazing. First time I ever went. And I took the metro. I had to make two changes. But it took me 38 minutes, and to drive there in an Uber was going to be 43. So sometimes it does make more sense, depending on where you're going, depending on the time of day, depending on the direction, that sort of thing, you know. So yeah, the subway system, people complain about it. It probably could be better. Like especially where I live, I always have to make a change. I live on a line that just goes like 8 stops in one direction. You know what I mean? So like sometimes I'm like, oh man, I'm going all the way up here to go all the way down there to go all the way, you know. But it's 5 pesos, so it's 30 cents. Like
Wow.
30 cents to ride the at least with right now's exchange rate, 30 cents.
Wow.
Or you know, like $8, $9, $5. I mean, Uber is fairly inexpensive here, but you know, to go.
Well, if you're comparing it, then
You
it's
know.
just, yeah, you can't.
Yeah, exactly.
They have buses there, too,
Yeah. Yeah, we have metro buses, which I have yet to figure out because I'm lazy, but it's also my goal because I'm determined to not use Uber as much. So my neighbor who lives here, I'm going to be like, hey, can we just go like ride the metro bus all day one day so I can kind of like get a lay of the land, because my depth perception is also awful too. My sense of direction is horrendous as well. So, but yeah, the metro buses. So there's metro buses, which are kind of like kind of like above ground metro, but not really. But they're bigger, they're longer, they're nicer. And then there's like colectivos, which are little buses that like cut through neighborhoods and things like that. There's one that goes somewhere that I need to go often, and it's supposed to pass like every 10, 15 minutes. I have yet to ever catch it. Even though when I don't need it, I'll see like 5 of them go by. I will go and I'll wait on that corner and be like, okay, I'm going to do the colectivo today. And then it doesn't come, and it doesn't come, and it doesn't come, and then I'm late, and then I call Uber. So
Yeah,
it's just one of those things.
I've been there.
Yeah. But, I mean, so many people that live here with no vehicle, and they get around just fine, either, you know, and locals use mass transit, like, you know, it's their way of getting around. And it's affordable, and you can, you know, it may take you a little bit longer depending on where you're going, or it may be quicker depending on where you're going because of traffic.
So what makes Mexico City so special? I mean, I know they also have like ridiculous number of like Michelin star restaurants, and just like the food culture there is like, insane. Is what I've heard.
Amazing. Yeah, it is. So there are, I mean, I think 2 of the top rated restaurants, like 2 of the top percentage. I'm not a huge foodie, but I know because I live here. There's a couple very highly top rated worldwide restaurants here. One of them, Pujol, which most people have heard of, and then there's another one, I can't remember the name of it, that if you're going to be here for a good amount of time and you want to experience it, you know, the experience is fabulous. And then there's everything in between. I mean, I have what are called fondas, and we have like comida corrida, which it's not fast food, but it's like a set menu, by the day, and you can order, you know, you have like 2 soups to choose from, and then you can choose between like spaghetti or rice or whatever the other one is that I never order. I can't think it off the top of the head. And then you have your entree, and then you have your dessert, which is usually like a little chocolate bar, or like a gelatin jello, and then the water of the day, which isn't water like we think of it when you ask for water here. It's often like a flavored water, a fruit flavored water. So like you can hear someone ask like, what kind of waters do you have? And they'll respond like, oh, we have tamarindo or jamaica or mango or whatever, which is also, I love it because, you know, don't always want to drink natural water, and I also don't want like a soda. So, and it's really, yeah, it's, and you can, you know, go those. You can go to some of those. Like I have one down the street from me. It's so filling, and it's, I don't know, like 85 pesos, like maybe $5 for the entire meal. Or you can go 4 doors down from that place and get street tacos that are like 13 pesos each, like 65 cents a piece, you know what I mean? And fill up on 5 tacos for less than $3, you know, it just, and then you can also go drop $250 at pool on a couple glasses of wine, a nice meal, a dessert, an aperitif, whatever, a cup of coffee afterwards. So and everything in between. I mean, there's so much food, and the gastronomy here is based in serious historical roots. There's mole is something that it takes days to, and if you know any of the Anthony Bourdain quotes about Mexico, he kind of goes off about how mole takes so long and how much goes into it, and all how we don't necessarily respect the process and etc. But it's mole, just so many flavors, salsas. I mean, you can go to a taco shop and there'll be 9 different salsas to choose from, and they're all made from 9 different chiles or different. It's just Mexico.
Yeah. No, I'm a huge foodie, so I really appreciate really good food. I come from a restaurant family, and it's true. I love the street tacos, and then I love having a nice meal as well. But that's the one thing
I'll give you a list of the great places.
Yeah, no, so how would you distinguish Mexico City from other cities in Mexico, from a Guadalajara, for example, or maybe a Oaxaca?
Right. Not comparable. I mean, the opportunities here. I mean, I know a lot of people. Guadalajara and Monterrey and Mexico City are the 3 largest cities in Mexico. However, Mexico City is the 3rd largest city in the world. So it just has. Sometimes I actually get analysis paralysis. I'll be like, okay, I want to do something on Saturday. What should I do? And I have 76 different options to the point that I get overwhelmed because I'm like, okay, but I want to go to the plant festival, but I want to walk dogs from the shelter, but I want to go, they're showing this movie at Cineteca Nacional. But my friends are going to this rooftop terrace, and it's just and then I end up sitting at home watching Netflix because I can't decide. Or I get frustrated because I'm like, but I don't have enough time to get, it's just to die for. There's so much to do, and something that people find really surprising about Mexico City is that there's actually a lot of nature activities to do. It's the 3rd largest city in the world, yet we have Chapultepec Forest, which is massive. They call it, they call Chapultepec Forest the lung of Mexico, and it is. It's huge. There's 6 sections. I believe, I'm going to get it right this time. I know the last time I said something about it and it was wrong. I think it's 4 times larger than Central Park.
Wow.
So you, being a person that lived in New York City, can conceptualize that.
That's crazy.
It's 3 or 4 times larger than Central Park, I believe. But I know it's much larger than Central Park. Largest park in all of Latin America. It's huge.
Wow.
And they have dog-friendly sections, and they have sections where you can't have dogs, which is also kind of nice, even though I have dogs, and that section is 3 steps from my front door, practically. It's like a 3-minute walk. But it's gorgeous. And they have the castle, and they have got museums inside, and there's classes, and there's yoga in the park, and there's literally something for everybody here. One of the things that I've heard about, I've actually never been to Guadalajara myself, but one of the things that I've heard about Guadalajara that it's lacking, there's just not as much, I guess there are not as many options for things like here, culture-wise. They have them, just not to the extent that you have in Mexico City. But if, another thing, for example, if, if an American or a British, band is going to come play, they're only doing 1 show in all of Mexico, it's most likely going to be in Mexico City. Although, if they're going to do multiple, it's going to be Mexico City, Guadalajara, and Monterrey, for example. They're usually not going to be down in Oaxaca or Puebla or Cuernavaca or anywhere like that, which those cities are also fabulous. They're just smaller. They're more what
Towns. I
would consider a town. Yeah. Cuernavaca, not so much. It's a proper city. But yeah, Oaxaca's pretty small. Puebla, it depends if you're counting Cholula, which is right next to Puebla, which is the state of Puebla, but a lot of people have started going there as well. And, you know, they all have their things. Like, Oaxaca is known for the gastronomy, like, worldwide. You know, Oaxacan cuisine is out of this world. It's incomparable. You know, Pueblos and the Poblanos and, or Puebla, sorry, and the Poblanos. But, yeah, they're just smaller. You know, you're going to go there for a few days, and you can probably see and do everything. Mexico City, you could live here your entire life and not, you know, touch what the city has to offer.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
So kind of getting just back to, or not even back to, but talking about cost of living, right? There's so many things that you can do. But just kind of, I don't know, can you give me a sample breakdown of what your monthly costs are?
Sure.
You know, in terms of rent and cell phone and electricity and, you know, whatever.
Yeah. So and, you know, again, differs on people. Like, some people prioritize being able to go out to eat a lot and they don't spend as much money on rent, right? I prioritize having a home in a neighborhood that I love. So my rent is the equivalent, I'm going to do a little math because the exchange rate right now is killing us.
Oh, really?
So my rent is right now is about $1,150 US dollar equivalent per month. I live in a neighborhood that is a solid middle class Mexican neighborhood, although more foreigners are slowly moving here. I hear more English and see, you know, more foreigners at the coffee shop, the infamous coffee shop, or the famous coffee shop that we know of.
And it's
then,
a 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom?
It's a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath. Yeah, so both bedrooms are ensuite bathrooms, which is nice because every once in a while, if I'm like, you know, bored and want someone else here, or sometimes my colleague will come to town because he moved to a different city, and, you know, it's nice. I have a 2nd bedroom and it's got an ensuite bath, and then I also have another half bath, like if I have a party or something. And then I also have like an American style kitchen, which is uncommon. You can definitely find them, but, you know, a lot of times apartments here don't have ovens.
Right.
It's not super common to have an oven. And then I have like a washer and dryer room. It barely fits, you know, my washer and dryer, and then there's a little sink in there. And I have a private terrace. It's not huge, but it's big enough to put, my favorite, I think this is my favorite service in Mexico, other than my food delivery for my dogs. They build these real little miniature boxes with real grass that they come and they change out every 3 weeks for dogs. So they have like a mini yard. And it's on my terrace, and it doesn't smell, and I can, you know, it's amazing. It's seriously my favorite service, I think.
That's hilarious.
As a dog owner, it's my favorite service. And I live, my unit number is penthouse, but it's really just the top of a 4th floor walk up. But it's, and I have, I saw the pictures online. A lot of times the best way to find an apartment is just pounding the pavement, walking around, calling the for rent signs. But I lucked out with this place I saw online. Ironically, also walked past it not knowing that this is the apartment that I was coming to see. The day that I was coming to see it, I was like doing a tour, just looking for more, because I knew this is the neighborhood I wanted to be in. And then like I came back and I'm like, oh wait, I have that saved. But yeah, I'm just surrounded by trees. I call it my little Mexican tree house. And I have all windows and then trees, and it's amazing. But I also get a lot of light, which is important to me. So enough about my apartment. My total cost per month. I would say my fixed costs per month, not including groceries and things like that, are about the equivalent of $1,600 US dollars a month.
Wow, really?
Including my rent, dog food, because electric and gas are billed bi-monthly. Gas is usually around 800, 900 pesos, which is about $50 US every 2 months, so $25 a month. my last electric bill was 158 or 258 pesos. I'm sorry. So like $13 for 2 months.
Even being generous, $20 a month.
$10 a month. A lot of it here is subsidized by the government.
That's crazy.
Electric
Well, you
and gas,
also,
yeah.
and what is also interesting is that you don't have air conditioners and you don't have heating in
Nope.
Mexico City because of the
Correct.
climate.
Yeah, the climate. So the thing that also shocks people, because we're at such high altitude, you would expect us to get cold, like snow, right? I mean, we're higher than Denver.
Right.
And then hot in the summers, but we don't. We have kind of like a San Diego climate almost. So like I said, today's the high is going to be 82, supposed to be 82, and that's probably the hottest I've ever seen since I lived here. And then the low is supposed to be 48 Fahrenheit. So, but it doesn't feel that way. It really doesn't feel that cold at night. But yeah, no, I like right now it was getting a little stuffy in my apartment, so I just opened a window and now I'm getting a little chilly. But I'm also in like shorts and a short sleeve t-shirt, or whatever, shirt, with flip-flops because that's who I am. And then if it's really cold at night, you just put on slippers or you put on socks and a sweatshirt. And if it's like really, really cold, I'll bust out a space heater. And what I'll do, my little trick on really cold nights before I go to bed, is I'll just turn on my space heater in my bedroom like 30 minutes before I go to bed, shut the door, kind of warm it up, throw my dogs in bed like 10 minutes before I get in there, so then the bed's nice and warm, and then I sleep, until the sun beats in my bedroom window, so in the mornings I don't worry about it. Actually, the sun wakes me up. Sometimes I get too hot and I have to open things up or actually move to the cold bedroom, as I call it. Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
And then water, I pay directly to my landlord, 100 pesos a month, so like $5.
Oh my God. That's amazing. That's really amazing. Oh my
I would
God.
say my biggest expense would probably be transportation, would be Uber when I'm using it. I'm trying to really cut back for several reasons. Like the air right now is really bad here, so that is one of the biggest downfalls. The pollution here is just awful. Just mostly during this time of year, because there's not a lot of wind and there's no rain. It's super dry, so there's it just because we're surrounded by mountains and volcanoes.
My God, Gabrielle, this has been so amazing. Oh my God. I actually, after this call, I'm going to have to book my flight to Mexico City.
Do it, and then I'll plan you a tour.
I know, exactly. Well, so if people want to get in touch with you about these relocation tours, how do they get in touch?
They can email me at Dr. G Residency, Dr. Dr. G, as in my name, residency @gmail.com, or I have a Facebook page for my residency business, Dr. G Mexican Residency. And there, if they send me a message, they'll get an auto response with a way to contact me via WhatsApp. I'm still just tipping off the iceberg myself because we were closed down for a couple of years, but I'm really trying to take advantage of everything the city has to offer. Tomorrow I'm going to the Plant Fest. Tonight I'm going to an art show. Sunday we're going out for dim sum. I mean, just every day there's something to do. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gabrielle, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
You're so welcome. It was so great to see you again, Risa. This is so fun. Anytime.